Hey, welcome to Watch Club. I am Chris. We are talking Cloak and Dagger, Season 1, Episode 7. I am joined, as always, by Mariam.
Hello.
Hey, Mariam. So this episode, what did you think?
Didn't love it.
Didn't love it.
No, kind of hated it.
That much?
I did. I really did not like this episode.
Was it the weakest episode so far for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I would say yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I thought there were some missed opportunities.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably spend a lot of our time here today talking about the things that we didn't think worked, but we will end on a positive note. So first of all, I'm calling him Ivan the Terrible now, because I thought he was kind of terrible. So in the first scene, we see Ivan and young Mina, and everything in that scene just made me cringe. Like, oh, this doesn't feel real. They're talking about cookies. And when I was taking my notes, I actually wrote down, well, I'm glad we'll never see them speak to each other again. But Ivan came back.
And I even think that scene, it might as well have had written at the bottom, like, please note the cookie.
This will be important later on.
It was highlighted and underlined in bold.
Plus, cardamom is not that hard to figure out. Like, cardamom is a pretty noticeable taste when it's the only spice in it. I'm sorry, that's a culinary side note.
Okay, I did not know any of that.
So there's that. There's also the fact that, like, the way he's speaking in this quasi-Mad Hatter whimsical language in the dream just did not. I didn't think the actor pulled it off. I didn't think maybe it was the writing. I don't know. It didn't work for me, and now we're going to see more of him. He'll be part of the plot moving forward, and I'm not thrilled about that. But speaking of moving forward, do you feel like this episode moved forward?
No, I really felt like we were stuck. I mean, we are stuck. We're stuck in this one moment that keeps happening over and over again in Ivan's kind of head, and that's where he's stuck. But I feel like there was an opportunity here to at least move, even if it was, there could have been an opportunity to move something forward. And I felt like the episode, I don't think we needed an episode in Ivan Hess's brain. Let's just put it that way. We could have, I think that would have been better spent really focusing on the kind of issues or development of techniques or finding out more about why the rig exploded. Like, I wanted to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree and I don't agree.
Oh,
I agree that, like, it wasn't a very successful episode, but I think that like the writers deciding, like, okay, this entire thing will take place inside his mind. It's all about them figuring out the riddle of how to unlock him and heal him. I thought that was, like, a good goal for the episode, a good chunk to tear off. And I think that they did move some things forward too. We did see the powers develop a little bit. We saw a new feature of their powers where they don't tag team, but they go together inside of someone's brain. You know, granted, this was someone who is catatonic, so we don't know what'll happen if they just do this on the street to someone. But it's cool to see that they can travel together like that. We also saw the terror at work, right? When this mysterious substance, it seems, infects the workers in the rig, and then it spreads from one to the other when they touch. That's a new development, you know. And I thought it gave the audience some credit in the way that they showed that. They didn't explain, like, oh wow, he touched him, and then so if we see that later, that actually makes whatever this mystery substance is pretty dangerous. I mean, you're kind of talking like zombies, you know, like 28 Days Later style zombies, because they were fast.
I agree, and I think my disagreement would be, I feel like we could have developed those ideas in a more interesting context.
Yep.
I think that Ivan Hess's brain is not interesting, and especially when he's catatonic. And also, I just feel like it would have been interesting to see. I wanted, with only a few episodes in a season, I want to see more develop in an episode. And I think it would have been really interesting to see finding more out about that rig that was more like tangible. Yeah,
I agree. I'm sure that we'll get to that now that, you know, Mina and Ivan can combine their mystery, their knowledge, and they're all on the same side. But yeah, speaking of, like, in the dream, I already mentioned how his whimsical Mad Hatter language didn't work for me. And so we always choose like a clunker line of the episode because the dialogue is a bit uneven in this series. So, you know, the whimsical language aside, we still have the problem of these teenagers don't always sound like teenagers. And so I think our two lines kind of come out of that.
Yeah.
So we actually have two. You guys tell us in the comments which is the real clunker of the episode. Is it option 1?
You're stuck in the mind of an insane, catatonic mudman.
What's so bad about that?
Everything. Everything I just said in that sentence is ridiculous.
Or tell us in the comments if you think it's option 2.
I bet you he doesn't even know you're a liar either. Does he know that you're in such a state since he's died that you turned to drugs?
So my pick is definitely you're in the mind of a catatonic mudman one. And then he basically even says, everything I just said was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I agree, Tyrone. I agree. You've been given poor writing. What do you think?
That was some clunky lamp shading. I mean, they just don't sound like teenagers to me, which maybe isn't a bad thing. I don't know.
I mean, I think that there's a difference between sounding like a teenager and having just poor writing. I think part of this genre of teen drama that I really enjoy is that they do speak a little bit older than they are. They do have a sense of like authority, because in a teen world, it's the children or the teenagers who are without the adults around them. It's not about the adults kind of impacting on the children in that way, but they're really living their own lives like adults. So it is, to a certain extent, I do think it's okay for them to sound older than they are. It's okay for them to be a little bit more kind of worldly, but I do think you're right in that some of the writing is just bad.
I think that when in young adult drama, when characters sound like they speak the way that you want to be able to speak, that's great. When they use turns of phrase like you're in such a state, then they speak like 60-year-old British women. And it's not, you know, when you're a 16-year-old kid from New Orleans, it doesn't work for me. Another thing that I found interesting was I just finished watching the second season of Legion, which I highly recommend, and it's another Marvel property. And I thought that like them in this episode, Cloak and Dagger going into someone's mind was kind of reminiscent of a thing that would happen all the time in Legion. But the way it was handled was so different that I think it really illustrates differences between the two. And it made me feel like, oh, this is really quaint. You know, they go into someone's mind and it looks like the real world. And there's this Mad Hatter speech. And when they fight with like wrenches and chains and not like a cartoon shark eating a cartoon tank. And then there's a dance battle, which is what happens in Legion. It was quaint.
It was
to
quaint.
me.
I mean, I don't agree. I don't think it was quaint. I mean, I think that Legion sounds bonkers.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But like, I think that part of this whole thing is they're trying to ground it a little bit in reality. I think that if they strayed too much from that, I think I would. I mean, I'm not watching Legion. I was not on Legion WatchClub.
Sure.
But I don't know that that's really the show for me. But it's something like this, to me, it's like it fit. It was like they're trying to ground this in reality. They're trying to keep it to be, it's all like the camera's all hand shaking and everything like that. It's gritty. It's trying to be real.
If they had done like some fantastical style stuff inside of the dream,
brain,
if it didn't just look like a boring industrial office, it might have like redeemed the episode in a big way, because at least we see like a different side of this world. I don't know. It could have. That to me, it's a missed opportunity. Here's another missed opportunity in my mind is Tandy inside that dream. She spends a long time in there, like long enough that she's good enough to like throw daggers with great accuracy. That's really cool. Like her powers have developed even further than Tyrone's, even though she was already like more developed than Tyrone. And so I feel like there was a possibility there to like really develop that and pay attention to that. And also a psychological change. Like when Tyrone comes back, she's a different person. When Tyrone comes into the dream, she's a different person. But by the time that she's out back into the real world, she's the same Tandy. There's no difference. I wish that this show would take things like that more seriously, not just skip over them. You know, like Tyrone really got beaten unconscious.
Yeah.
That's gonna have an effect on a person. Tandy really spent maybe years inside another person's repetitive fantasy, being addicted to listening to her father.
Yeah.
That can have an effect on someone,
Yeah.
but it's not that kind of show.
And then she leaves and she's done and she's like,
Yeah, I've put all that behind
but
me.
now I can throw daggers really well.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
she retains that power.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but I would have liked to have seen her develop that a little bit. Like, I feel like sometimes when we leave her, we go with Tyrone, we come back, she's been in there for however long, and then I feel like I wanted to see, I like to see the process.
You really want to see that
Yeah.
explosion thing playing out over and over again. I think we got enough of that.
I would have liked to have seen her process of getting better at the daggers. Like, you know, maybe that's why this wasn't the best setting for it.
It did fast forward that. We could have seen more of it, but okay, fair enough. But hey, you know what? Let's end off on some good stuff. I felt like the episode ended off on some really good stuff.
Right.
Like, the one thing that remains the strongest part of this is when Tandy and Tyrone speak to each other. Like, they have chemistry. You can't describe it. I heard them talk about the process, the producers talk about the process of casting this show, and it was really down to the wire. Like, a day or two before they started shooting was when they cast Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph. Before that, they had like some 27-year-old actors in mind. And it wasn't until these two walked in the room together that they're like, yes. So good job on that. But I'm getting off track. The ending, Tyrone calls Tandy, and I think this is the first time that we've seen them be friends just for the sake of being friends, and it was sweet.
Yeah, I mean, sure, yeah, I agree with you, but it was so weird. Like, the last line of the episode, or like, he plays her a song that he did with his brother, and she tells him to play it again right before we close, and didn't it remind you, like, a black man and a white blonde woman, and she's telling him to play the song again? Didn't that remind you of Casablanca?
Play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.
Play it, Sam.
I'm going to take a couple weeks off. I'll be back for the finale. Our good friend Noah will be filling in for us. For me, I should say. Mariam will be here. Check out the Watch Club next week. Tell us in the comments what you thought the clunker of the episode was, and tell us what you thought of the episode. Like, subscribe, come back next week, and I will see you guys in the comments.
And play it again.
Play it again. Yeah, play this again. Why not?